I try and make this quick. It's in reply to someone who sent an email, and I sort of continually talk about this thing on emails to other people, so I thought I'd just quickly do a clip on YouTube for it. And what I want to talk about is something called demographic inertia, which is a term that I use, which really means that if you have a lot of people practicing a style or a system in one area, then that system is less likely to change, because if you were to change it, then all your mates and family would say, no, it's not like that at all, you know, and you'd be quite crazy to try and do so, to add a move or something like that. Now, as the opposite of that is if someone goes away and lives in a different town on their own, they tend to change, either unconsciously or because they want to be doing something else, and that's absolutely fine. What happens, of course, is no one knows if that's how it was taught. And the way that things do tend to change is they become more complicated. Nobody would do a kata and then say, well, I don't like those 4 moves, so I won't do them. Much more likely is that they put a few more moves in, or break down the detail of a move, which they particularly like, and accentuate some aspect of it, so become more specific either in application or the actual refined movements of each detailed little thing. Now, the opposite of demographic inertia, if you find someone who's in a place where they claim to have had a very famous teacher, what you should be able to do is find other teachers that famous teacher had. For a teacher to be famous, I would guess in southern China they must have lots of students. And if someone says, no, this is the way that I was taught by this famous old bloke, but it turns out that you can't find any other students at all that do it that way, or even any students at all, it's unlikely that the old bloke was a famous kung fu teacher. And that's quite interesting, especially when you look at different styles and you say, well, why does he do it differently? And the question is, who else does it that way? And if no one else does, you have to sort of think about it a little bit. Now, in the case of, let's suppose you had a teacher who's 50 or 60 years old, his teacher would be 80, either alive or dead, or recently dead. You'd imagine that there'd be lots of other students doing it the same way. Now, in that case, it's very difficult to go and see the teacher, obviously, because he's dead, but you should be able to go and see the other students. If at the age of 60 someone is head of a lineage where there's no other people of his age or above, you have to wonder how that happened. And I'm not talking about people who are senior to him, it might be carried through the family, just there would be other students who would be doing it the same way. So, why is this all interesting to me in particular? Because in Yong Chun, when you go there and you find inside one of the Wushu like Yong Chun, that they're practicing in a certain way, and let's take Sanjan as an example, then if you go outside that Wushu, you'll find that the famous teacher from 2 generations back would have taught virtually every other uncle, son, fishmonger in the area, and they'll all be doing it the same way. And there's a massive body of people who are practicing this system basically the same way, refined little details, but this is a really special aspect of Yong Chun, and that's why we can say with certainty in the Gong Guan, we can be fairly certain that 100 years ago, if not more, they were practicing at least Sanjan pretty much the same way, because otherwise people who are now 92 would not be practicing it the same way, because their teachers would have been 40 years older, making them effectively by now 130 and teaching in their prime, and that's the way they learnt it. So when you look at 2 different ways of doing the same form, which come through 2 different teachers, I would always give weight to the form which is practiced by the most people of that generation. When I say give weight, I mean say that's probably the way it used to be done. And I hope that that is not too much of a ramble, but explains clearly what I mean by demographic inertia, why is it important to me, and why it particularly applies to the white cranes practiced in some of the Wushu Guans in Yong Chun.